Hello, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a beautiful, fantastic, productive day. So today I'm gonna do something a little bit different, and I really want to highlight, I think, some foundational realizations that are imperative with making any substantial change in your life. One key element to making any substantial change is understanding. And in this context, since we're talking about something of a broad scope, understanding means understanding the world. And when I say understanding the world, I do not mean agreeing with the world. What I mean is coming to a realization of how the world works, the mechanics, and all of what goes on in the background with conversations, interactions, corporations, the government, all these things. And I really want to highlight that they say that life is not fair, and that may be true, but it does not mean that you can't be ethical, you can't be kind, you can't be sincere. Just because life isn't fair, you still be fair. You still be fair. A lot of times I tell people I respectfully disagree with you. And what can you say to that? Really, it kind of catches people off guard, I believe. Because when we disagree with people, it is so common, at least in American culture, to disagree and to have some sort of hostility, disdain, this anger. But to say, I see what you are saying. Yes, but what I believe and what I see is a little bit different. To understand how the world operates becomes a point of reference to say, this is where we are. You have to know where you are to make a change. You have to know that you are lost to find your destination. If you're lost and you say, I'm not lost, well, you are. You're lost. You don't know where you are. You're trying to get to the Ritz-Carlton and you're at the Motel 8, Holiday, whatever they call it. You're far from where you aspire to be. If you can't acknowledge that, then you'll never get to the Ritz-Carlton. And everybody knows. I mean, like, what's better than the Ritz? The Four Seasons? I like the Four Seasons. It's beautiful. Especially when you're on the rooftop. There's nothing like a rooftop. To revert back to a previous video, the 90-day challenge. Before you can even start the 90-day challenge, you have to realize where you are. You have to realize where you want to go. Where do you want to go physically? Where do you want to go mentally? Where do you want to go in your career? Where? And yes, I will stop and say progress in your career can be made in 90 days. Yeah, you can have a really good 90 days in any aspect, in any avenue in life. 90 days is a short amount of time, but it's long enough to see a pattern, and it is long enough to see a change. So if you think that 90 days doesn't matter, I beg to differ, because there's 365 days in a year. And a big chunk of those 365 days in the year is composed of 4 increments of 90 days. With setting goals, I believe that you have, of course, the ultimate goal, and you can have numerous ultimate goals that you see yourself achieving. Pause. So when I say see yourself achieving, I'm not just saying like vocally or whatever. Like, you actually take a moment every day, even if it's just like 60 seconds, and you imagine for those 60 seconds, you imagine yourself achieving that goal. Now, I know that might sound a little bit bizarre, but it's 60 seconds. What does that really mean? And what does that mean for your heart and your mind and your soul to spend that short little increment of time imagining yourself being at your happiest state? Isn't that... Everyone's always talking about this 5-year plan, but at the same time, thank you, God, for bringing this into my consciousness. At the same time, they also say that nothing goes according to plan. Isn't that what they always tell us all the time? Why are we not making a 5-year strategy? Because a strategy allows us to adapt, maneuver, to change, to maneuver, and to do so in a graceful, strong, confident way that can only be possible by anticipation and laying out the foundation so that it can be seemingly effortless, yet strategic. Strategy is not something that is done on a whim. It is something that is done. It is done in preparation, anticipation, and by observation of what has already happened. In some cases, people's previous behavior, the environmental behavior. What is the environment? The environment can be anywhere where you dedicate a lot of your time, effort, energy, or your thoughts. Who are your friends? Fill in the blank as you may. Who is your family? Who is your significant other? Who are you? Who do you want to be? To know your strategy, thank you, God, you have to know the pieces on the chessboard. You have to know where you are, who you are, and where you want to go on this chessboard. And you have to know those surrounding you and the roles that they play to have a realistic strategy. Now, you can have a strategy all day long, but is it realistic? You have to be honest with yourself for that answer. I never learned how to play chess completely, but I learned a few things. I learned that the pawn can move 1 or 2 places at a time. The queen, I think she can move across the whole board in 1 leap if the conditions are right. And conditions always change. The knight moves in like an L. People have a way of moving throughout life. And the way that you move, the way that you progress, the way that you make change is not the same as someone else. Life is so beautiful and unique. And going back to my garden, because I reference it in just about every video. My lavender roses have bloomed. The pink roses have bloomed. The white roses have bloomed. And I've been waiting for my red roses to bloom all year. My bush gets bigger and bigger, but no blooms. No blooms. But I'm still optimistic. Everything has its own time. I'm going to try to paint this imagery. The red roses have not bloomed, and I can actually see the bush getting bigger. Sometimes we can't see everything. We can't see the growth. But it does not mean it's not still growing. Okay, going back to strategy. This is the Rubik's Cube of my mind. Strategy. So, the dictionary is a very useful tool. Even if English is your first language, it's easy to forget the actual meaning behind words. Strategy. How you are going to achieve something. How. The cogs, the wheels, the pulleys. How are you going to... What is the worst case scenario for your avenue, for your dream, for your goal, for your ambition? What is the one thing that you really, really, really hope won't happen? Okay, so what if it happens tomorrow? How are you going to respond? What are you going to do? What are your resources that you are going to use to overcome whatever it is